They called you distant, cold, too intense, too emotional, too quiet, and yet somehow too much. Since childhood, you've sensed that feeling, like there's a room you were never fully allowed to enter, a conversation you weren't truly invited into, like everyone else got a map to life, and you were left to draw your own in the dark. But what if I told you you were never meant to fit in? Not now, not in this world, not in the illusions that surround you. Because, Scorpio, you weren't born to conform, you were born to awaken, to pierce through the lies people tell themselves, to expose what others are too afraid to see, to carry the energy of transformation even when it hurts you to the core. See, the world doesn't understand the one who walks through fire and still emerges whole. It fears what it cannot tame. And Scorpio, you are untamable. You weren't made to walk through life smiling on the surface. You were designed to dive beneath it, to sit with people in their darkness, not to judge, but to mirror, to heal them, yes, but only after forcing them to see what they've buried. And that makes people uncomfortable. They say you're hard to love, but maybe it's just that you love at a depth most hearts are not prepared to swim in. Maybe your loneliness isn't punishment, maybe it's protection. Because souls like yours don't awaken in crowds. They awaken in silence, in heartbreak, in betrayal, in watching others walk away and still choosing to rise. You didn't come here to be popular. You came here to be powerful, not in the loud, performative way, but in the silent, cosmic way that leaves ripple effects through every soul you touch. So if you've ever wondered why it's so hard for you to feel like you belong, let me show you. Because in this video you'll discover 10 reasons why Scorpio was never meant to fit in, but to awaken others. Each one is a mirror, each one a key to remembering why your soul came here in the first place. And by the end of this, you won't just understand yourself more, you'll finally understand your purpose. Reason 1. You were born to disrupt illusions, not to belong to them. There's a moment often unspoken, sometimes forgotten, that happens to almost every Scorpio child. It might come in a classroom, at a family dinner, during a conversation where everyone is nodding in agreement. But something deep inside you knows what they're saying isn't true. And you sit there frozen, not because you don't have the words to speak, but because you know the moment you do, everything will shift. You see, most people are born into a world of illusions. They're taught to obey, to follow, to pretend. But you, Scorpio, were born with eyes that see beneath the masks. You see the lie behind the smile, the bitterness behind the kindness, the emptiness behind their success stories. And when you speak, you don't just share your opinion like others do. You pierce. You confront, you disrupt, and that terrifies people. They label you difficult, too negative, or the classic, why do you always have to make things so deep? But they don't realize you're not trying to be dramatic. You're simply incapable of pretending. Fitting in would require you to wear a mask that suffocates you, to say yes when your soul screams no, to laugh at what you find hollow, to play the game that you were never meant to play. You were designed to challenge the norm, to be the lightning bolt in the calm, to question what others accept blindly, not because you enjoy conflict, but because truth matters higher, more to you than comfort ever could. Let's take a real-world example. There was once a Scorpio woman raised in a family that always kept things polite. Secrets were swept under the rug, abuse ignored. Everything looked perfect from the outside. But she couldn't sleep. From the age of 12, she felt sick in her own home, not because of what was said, but because of what wasn't. At 19, she finally broke the family code. She told the truth, and they disowned her for it. But years later, the same family members who once condemned her came back. Because her truth had set them free, she didn't fit in because she was meant to be the fire that burned the illusion to the ground. That's what you are, Scorpio. A soul who dares to burn what isn't real, so something honest can finally rise. You weren't made to blend in, you were made to wake people up. And yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's exhausting. But it's also sacred. Because not everyone is brave enough to live without illusion. But you are. Life lesson from reason 1. Fitting in often requires abandoning your truth. But you, Scorpio, were born to carry truth even when it isolates you. Your discomfort is not a flaw, it's a sign that you're here to shake people out of their sleep. Reason 2. You carry the energy of death and rebirth. Most people live their entire lives trying to avoid endings. They fear change. They cling to what's familiar even when it's broken, lifeless, or silently killing them. They patch what's rotting. They numb what's aching. They decorate cages and call them comfort. But you, Scorpio, you were born with a soul that carries death in one hand and rebirth in the other, and that makes you unforgettable. It's not because you want things to end, it's because you know when something has already died, even when everyone else is pretending it's still alive. A friendship, a job, a marriage, a version of yourself. You feel it before it's spoken. You sense when the energy has shifted, when something no longer belongs in your soul's path. And what do? You let it go, not always gracefully, sometimes painfully, but deeply and completely. And that's why people think you're too extreme, why they say things like, "How could you walk away just like that? You seemed so fine yesterday. Why can't you just stay and fix it?" Because they don't understand. You're not just a person, you are a cycle. Destruction and rebirth, collapse and awakening, death and phoenix. You don't fear the ashes, you rise from them. A story. There was a Scorpio man who built an entire life by the age of 30. Wife, children, business, perfect house. But one morning, he stood in front of the mirror and saw nothing in his own eyes. He'd achieved everything the world said would make him happy, but his soul felt empty. Most people would stay, force a smile, hold on out of guilt, shame, fear. But he walked away. He didn't cheat, he didn't sabotage. He simply let go of the version of himself that was already dead. 10 years later, he's a spiritual teacher. He helps men in crisis. He's remarried, but this time to a woman who met him in the ashes. A woman who understood death was never the end, only the invitation to rise again. That's the essence of Scorpio. But here's the truth that most won't say out loud. You're not meant to maintain what's dying. You're meant to die and be reborn many times and show others it's possible. Your very existence reminds people that transformation is inevitable, that there is no real power without loss. No real life without death. No real awakening without first surrendering who you thought you were. And that's why you'll never fit in. Because most people fear the very energy you carry, but it's that exact energy that the world needs more than ever. Life lesson from reason 2. Don't cling to what your soul has already outgrown, no matter how familiar it feels. You are not here to live one small life. You are here to die and rise again, and in doing so, teach others how to do the same. You are not a prisoner of endings, Scorpio. You are the architect of new beginnings. Reason 3. Your silence isn't absence, it's awareness. People misread silence. They assume it means confusion, shyness, even weakness. But Scorpio, your silence has never been empty. It is conscious, it is active, it is alert. You don't speak just to fill space. You don't laugh to fit in. You don't pretend to be okay when your soul knows otherwise. While others are busy performing, you're observing. You notice the twitch in someone's eye when they lie. You hear the pause before their words reveal what's really buried. You feel the tension in a room that others pretend not to notice. And in your silence, you gather truth, like a surgeon gathers tools before the cut. That's what makes people uncomfortable around you. Not your attitude, not your mystery, but the fact that you see too much and say too little. And they don't know what you'll do with what you've seen. A true story from a Scorpio woman. She worked in a high-powered corporate firm in Chicago. Meetings every week, loud personalities, buzzwords, ego. and she, always the quiet one in the corner, rarely said a word. People ignored her, underestimated her, called her the Ice Queen, but what they didn't know was that she was absorbing everything. Who was insecure, who was manipulating others, who was lying to cover failure, who was secretly spiraling inside. One day she spoke, just one sentence during a high-stakes board meeting, and it shifted the entire direction of the company. She called out an executive's misreporting with surgical clarity. No emotion, just truth. No one could believe it, but she'd been watching for 6 months, collecting details, patterns, movements. She wasn't absent. She was awake. This is the power of your silence, Scorpio. You don't always need to speak. Because your presence already demands accountability, you sit in the room like a mirror, and people project onto you their fears, their guilt, their insecurities, because they can sense that you see it all. Your silence is not distance, it's discernment. You wait, you watch, you feel, and then, when it's time, you strike with precision. And here's the truth no one wants to admit. People who talk all the time usually have nothing to say, but the ones who stay quiet like you hold universes within. And you were never meant to waste your voice trying to be accepted by the blind. Life lesson from Reason 3. Never apologize for your silence. In a world obsessed with noise, your awareness is sacred. You weren't born to speak often. You were born to speak truthfully. And that's why when you finally do speak, the whole room listens. Reason 4. You read people's truths before they speak them. There's something you've known since you were very young, Scorpio. Before someone opens their mouth, you already know. You feel their worry behind their smile. You sense the shame buried in their compliments. You detect the threat wrapped in sugar-coated words. And here's the wild part. They think they're hiding it well. They have no idea that you already read the entire story in just a glance. Their eyes, their tone, the way they avoid certain words, the way their energy shifts when the topic gets too close to the truth. Scorpio, you don't read people like a book. You read them like a sacred text. You read what they don't say. You read the parts they haven't even admitted to themselves yet. A memory. There was a Scorpio girl in high school. Quiet, sharp, always sitting near the window. One day, a new student arrived, all confidence and swagger. He became popular in days. Everyone adored him. But she saw something different. She saw how he walked too stiff. She heard how he laughed slightly delayed. She noticed how he never made deep eye contact. She didn't say a word. Until one day he passed by her desk and whispered, "How do you always know I'm not okay, when even I can't figure it out?" She didn't have an answer then. But we both know what that answer is now. Because Scorpio, you were never meant to engage at surface level. You swim in the depths. You don't just sense emotion, you merge with it. You can walk into a room and immediately feel who's lying, who's hurting, who's pretending, and who's about to explode. And that's why you don't fit in with shallow crowds. That's why small talk feels like poison to your nervous system. Because you weren't made for masks, you were made for revelation. And for some, that's terrifying. Not because you're wrong, but because you're right and they're not ready to face what you've already seen. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are addicted to their own performance. They've played their roles for so long they've forgotten who they truly are. But you walk in and remind them with just your presence that someone still sees their soul. And that, Scorpio, is a spiritual confrontation most aren't ready for. Life lesson from Reason 4. Don't doubt your intuition just because it makes others uncomfortable. The truth you feel is not your imagination, it's your gift. And it's not your job to make others ready, it's your job to stay true to what you already know. Because when you speak someone's truth out loud, you don't just call them out, you call them home. Reason 5. You don't crave belonging. You crave alignment. Most people spend their entire lives trying to belong. They mold their voices to match the room. They betray their own instincts just to stay accepted. They give pieces of themselves away for free in exchange for approval. But Scorpio, You were never wired like that. You don't care if everyone in the room likes you. You care if the energy in the room is real. You care if the souls around you are honest. You care if the frequency you're surrounded by aligns with your truth. Belonging is cheap. Alignment is sacred. That's the difference. And that's why you walk alone more often than not. Let me tell you a story. A Scorpio man once worked in the entertainment industry, a world built on image, charm, and illusion. He was talented, magnetic, respected, but something inside him always felt off. The praise felt empty. The parties felt performative. The smiles were polished but hollow. One day, he walked away from a multi-million-dollar deal. Everyone called him crazy, but he told no one what he saw. A world built on ego, but starving for soul. Now, years later, he works in silence, creating art that heals people, not just entertains them. He doesn't have the same stage, but he finally has peace. Because he no longer fits in, he aligns. Scorpio, you don't need to be accepted, you need to be true. You don't need 10 people to approve of you. You need one soul who sees you without distortion. You don't need to belong to the world, you need to belong to yourself. That's why your energy makes people pause. Why some drift away from you without explanation. It's not rejection, it's recalibration. Their energy couldn't stand next to yours and stay the same. And that's the whole point. Here's the deeper truth. Fitting in is about survival, but alignment is about soul evolution. And you, Scorpio, didn't come here to survive. You came here to transform. Life lesson from reason 5. Never confuse loneliness with misalignment. Sometimes the path of truth is quiet, but it's yours. You don't need to belong where your energy has to shrink. You are not here to dim. You are here to vibrate. And only alignment will let you do that freely. Reason 6. You were chosen to be the mirror. No one wants to look into. There are people we meet who flatter us, comfort us, make us feel safe. Then there are people like you, Scorpio. You don't flatter, you reflect. You don't walk into a room to be liked. You walk in carrying a mirror, whether you mean to or not. And that mirror, it shows people exactly who they are. Not who they pretend to be, not who they wish they were, but who they are underneath the mask. That's why people either cling to you or run from you. You activate something in them they've spent years trying to avoid. Their guilt, their regrets, their buried rage, their deepest longings. You don't do it to hurt them. You don't do it to manipulate. You do it because it's in your aura. A story. A Scorpio woman once entered a new friend group. At first, they adored her, said she was mysterious and different. But weeks in, things changed. She started noticing patterns, toxic jokes, passive aggression, subtle competition. She didn't attack. She didn't expose anyone. She just remained silent. But in that silence, they started turning on her. Why? Because they saw themselves through her gaze and they didn't like what stared back. Eventually, she left. No drama, no fight, just distance. Months later, one of them sent her a message. You didn't say anything, but you made me realize I hated who I was becoming. Scorpio, that's your power. You don't speak to destroy. You exist to awaken. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs you closeness. People don't always hate you because you're wrong. They hate you because you're right and they weren't ready to face it. Your presence reveals, not because you point fingers, but because your energy calls the soul to rise. And to rise, we must first see what we've buried. That is your role. Not the cheerleader, not the peacemaker, the mirror. And here's the divine truth. The mirror never causes the wound. It only shows what was already bleeding. And Scorpio, your presence shows it with precision. Life lesson from reason 6. You weren't sent to make people feel good. You were sent to make people wake up. And that mission is not for the faint-hearted. You'll lose people. You'll be misunderstood. But one day, someone will thank you, not because you told them what they wanted to hear, but because you showed them what they needed to see. That's the mirror. That's you. Reason 7. You hold the secrets of the shadow realm. There's a place most people avoid, a place inside themselves they don't want to see, the place where their shame lives, where their traumas sleep, where their darkest thoughts echo in silence. Most people build entire lives running from that place. But Scorpio, you were born in it. You were cradled in the dark long before you even knew what light was. Not because you're broken, not because you're cursed, but because you were chosen to understand what others cannot face. You don't fear the shadow, you walk with it, you listen to it, you speak its language. And that's why you never truly fit in, because the world runs on avoidance, but your soul runs on revelation. When others say, that's too heavy, let's not talk about it, you say, that's exactly what we need to talk about. When others say, let's keep it light, you think, what are you hiding from? Scorpio, you were never meant for the shallow end. You were born in the depths, and that's where the real transformation happens. A story from a Scorpio healer. She once sat with a woman who had been in therapy for 8 years, still stuck, still numb. In just one session, the Scorpio asked her one question. Not harsh, not leading, just surgical, and it broke her open. Tears, memories, confession, release. Later, the woman said, no one ever dared to go there with me before. Everyone danced around it, but you walked right into it and held me through it. That's the Scorpio gift. You don't dance around the darkness. You go in and return with the light. You aren't scared of people's rage, grief, guilt, or shame, because you've sat with your own, and now you can sit with theirs without judgment. Here's what most never understand. Shadow isn't evil. It's wounded. It's lost. It's begging to be seen. And you, Scorpio, are the only one brave enough to look it in the eye and say, I see you. Let's heal this together. Life lesson from Reason 7. You weren't sent to bring light by avoiding darkness. You bring light because you've learned to walk through it. The world needs more than smiles. It needs souls who aren't afraid of the pain behind those smiles. And that's you. That's your medicine. You don't just hold space for healing, you hold the shadows until they turn to light. Reason 8. You're the alchemist of pain. Pain breaks most people. It silences them, hardens them, turns them into shells of who they used to be. But not you, Scorpio. You don't just survive pain, you transform through it. You take betrayal and turn it into wisdom. You take abandonment and turn it into spiritual solitude. You take heartbreak and turn it into a deeper capacity to love without attachment. Scorpio, you are the alchemist of the zodiac. Not because you enjoy suffering, but because you understand that pain has purpose. You know that every wound is an initiation. Every scar is a secret passage. Every collapse is a conversation with the divine. A powerful story. A Scorpio man was once left by the love of his life. No warning, no closure, just silence. He broke as anyone would. He collapsed inward, stopped talking, stopped showing up. He disappeared into himself. But inside that cave, something strange happened. He didn't numb. He didn't distract. He listened to his grief, to his rage, to his inner child, to the parts of himself he had buried for years beneath the relationship, beneath his image, beneath the lie that love had to be earned through sacrifice. Months later, he reemerged. Not the same man, but a version of himself he had never met before, whole, awake, rooted. He didn't just heal, he alchemized. That's what you do, Scorpio. You take what others would run from and you sit with it long enough to change its chemical structure. You burn away illusion. You melt down pretense. You extract gold from the ash. And in doing so, you awaken others. Not by preaching, but by embodying. Your story is your sermon. Your scars are sacred scripture. Your eyes say, I've been through the fire and I didn't just survive, I became. Here's the part most people will never see. Alchemists suffer in silence. They're misunderstood. They're judged for disappearing. But their silence is where the magic brews. Scorpio, your darkness isn't dysfunction, it's a forge, and you're the one holding the flame. Life lesson from reason 8. Don't hide your story because it doesn't look pretty. Show the world how you remade yourself, not in spite of the pain, but through it. You were never meant to just heal. You were meant to teach others how to turn pain into power. That's not survival. That's alchemy. That's you. Reason 9. You break what is false to reveal what's eternal. Scorpio, let's be honest. You are not here to preserve illusions. You are here to break them. In a world addicted to appearances where people polish their image more than their character, you walk in like an earthquake, silent at first, but powerful enough to make everything fake collapse. You don't tolerate the half-truths, the everything's fine smiles, the Instagram perfect lives built on emotional bankruptcy. And when you sense that something is false, whether it's a relationship, a job, a belief, or a persona, you don't let it slide. You press in, you question, you confront, not out of cruelty, but out of a deep soul-level refusal to let lies go unexamined. Because Scorpio, you were never meant to live on the surface. You were born to excavate the truth, and truth demands destruction. A story of spiritual confrontation. There was a Scorpio woman who had been best friends with someone for over 10 years. On the surface, they were close, but she always sensed something wasn't right. Every time she succeeded, her friend grew distant. Whenever she was vulnerable, the friend deflected. One day, she sat her down and said, "You don't actually love me, you love having me below you." It shattered the friendship. Tears, accusations, silence. But a year later, the same friend sent a message, "You were right, I was jealous. I just didn't want to admit it, not even to myself." Scorpio didn't break that friendship out of spite. She broke it because what was false could no longer survive in her presence. This is why people accuse you of ruining things. But here's the truth. You don't ruin anything. You reveal what was never real to begin with. The marriage that looked perfect but lacked intimacy. The friendship that was loyal in public but resentful in secret. The belief system that sounded wise but came from fear, not love. You don't cling to what's false just to keep the peace. You walk away or you burn it down so that what's eternal can finally be seen. Here's what most can't admit. They're terrified of being seen by someone like you because you see what even they don't want to see. And yet that's your gift, not to shame them, but to set them free. Because nothing eternal is afraid of being revealed. Only what is false trembles in the light. And you, Scorpio, are the fire that reveals. Life lesson from reason 9. Don't apologize for the things that fell apart around you. If they collapsed in your presence, it's because they were built on something you could no longer carry. Your truth is not destructive, it's refining. You don't break what's sacred, you break what's pretending to be. And in doing so, you make space for what was always meant to last. Reason 10. You weren't sent to fit in, you were sent to awaken. Scorpio, look around you. The world is full of people asleep with their eyes open. They wake up, scroll, consume, perform. They say what's safe, do what's expected, numb what hurts. And they call that living. But your soul has always known better. Even as a child, you sensed something was off. You couldn't explain it, but you felt it. The artificial smiles, the shallow goals, the empty rituals dressed up as success. And so you rebelled, not with noise, but with depth. You became quiet in loud rooms. You asked questions no one wanted to answer. You chose solitude over fake belonging. And you felt alone, but never lost. Because deep down, you knew you weren't sent here to join them. You were sent here to wake them. Scorpio, you are the soul who arrives in someone's life right before everything changes. Not because you planned it, but because your frequency demands evolution. People meet you and suddenly their secrets rise, their desires surface, their wounds reopen, their old life starts to crack. They may hate you for it, they may ghost you, they may fight you, but months later, years later, they'll remember you as the moment everything shifted. Because you didn't let them sleep through their potential. You rattled their spirit. You shattered their illusion. You reminded them of who they were before the world told them to be smaller. A final story. A Scorpio mentor once had a client successful on the outside, depressed on the inside. In the first session, the Scorpio didn't ask about work. He asked one question: when did you decide your truth wasn't safe? The man broke down, not because the question hurt, but because someone finally dared to ask what mattered. 6 months later, that man left his job, started writing again, began therapy, and said, "You didn't give me answers, you gave me permission to wake up." That's what you do, Scorpio. You don't fit in because your energy disrupts the matrix. You carry frequency codes of transformation. You are the soul who ends the lie so something divine can begin. You are not here to be liked, you are here to ignite. And if that makes others uncomfortable, distant, defensive, so be it. Because you didn't come here to be accepted by the asleep. You came here to activate the ones who are ready to rise. Life lesson from Reason 10. Stop looking for a seat at the table you were meant to flip. Stop shrinking to fit into rooms your soul came here to outgrow. You weren't sent here to blend in, you were sent here to awaken. And now, it's time to fully own that. Conclusion. You were never a misfit, Scorpio. You were a messenger. Now that we've walked through the 10 reasons, let's say this clearly once and for all. You were never broken. You were never too intense. You were never too much. You were never meant to fit in because you were born to wake people up, and that calling was never going to come quietly. You are the sign of transformation, of deep waters, of sacred death and divine rebirth. And the world as we know it is terrified of those things, but it needs them. It needs you. Every time you were left out, misunderstood, silenced, betrayed, you were being refined, not punished, not rejected, but prepared. Prepared to speak what no one dares say, to feel what others run from, to name what hides in the dark. Prepared to be the presence that stirs awakening, even if it costs you comfort, even if you're the villain in someone else's unhealed story. Scorpio, you've never walked the easy path, because the sacred path never is, but you've kept walking through fire, through silence, through every loss and rebirth. And what's waiting for you now is the version of you that no longer apologizes for your depth. This is your moment to stop trying to fit where your soul doesn't feel seen, to stop shrinking in rooms your power was meant to stretch, to stop over-explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. It's time to rise not with arrogance, but with alignment. Because the world doesn't need another performer. It needs a truth teller, a mirror, a fire, a Scorpio. And if no one has told you this yet, let me say it now. Your energy changes people. Your truth sets people free. And your presence, even in silence, is a cosmic reminder that it's time to wake up. Not everyone will be ready, but those who are will never forget that you were the one who turned on the light. Final life lesson. Fitting in is about safety, but awakening is about purpose. You were not sent here to be safe, you were sent here to be sacred. And sacred things were never meant to be understood by the ordinary. So walk forward now, Scorpio. Not to belong, but to become. If this message resonated with the deepest part of your soul, then you already know what to do. Subscribe to the path to Buddha wisdom, where your truth is never too much, your silence is never misunderstood, and your soul is always honored.